Hey there guys, Justin with Temco again, and today, this video, I'm going to go ahead and show you a cool project. This is going to be an acrylic bending table. Now for working with acrylic, if you've ever worked with it, there's a lot of methods for bending it, but the cleanest and most effective method for making a bend in acrylic is using a heating strip. Mostly these are built with Nichrome wire. So I'm going to go over how to go ahead and put together this awesome acrylic bending table so that you can work with the acrylic to build pretty much anything you want. It's got a couple of cool features on it here. We're going to have an adjustable angle stop, auto tensioning for the wires so that you don't have to worry about it drooping when the wire heats up, all kinds of fun stuff. So why don't you come out with me to the shop and we're going to go ahead and start putting this thing together. Alrighty, so to build this project, we're going to need a couple of supplies. First of all, some aluminum channel. This is going to protect the wood we're going to use from the heat of the element wire. We obviously need some wood as construction material. I'm using OSB here, but you could use plywood or pretty much anything you've got around. You need some hinges, some alligator clips, some miscellaneous screws. I like to use flat blade screws, and you'll see why a little later on. And of course, you'll need some resistance wire. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and be using some 20 gauge, probably about 3 foot is all I'm really going to need. My channel here is 2 feet long, and so that's going to be the working area of our acrylic bending table here. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and cut the wood down to size. And so I've got some pieces here that are a little too long, so I'm going to go ahead and shorten these. I want 2 pieces that are going to match the channel. Those will be the table surface, so those need to be cut down to 2 foot. And then I need a base that's actually a little bit longer, sticks out on both sides to be able to clip the heating element wire too. Now these 2 pieces I have here are 24 inches each. I like to have about 3 inches on either side. So we're going to go ahead and cut this piece here down to 30 in length. So now we end up with that. Alright, now that we've got all our pieces cut out for the final size that we use here, we're going to want to start lining them up and nailing them down. The OSB I'm using has a smooth side and a rough side. I'm going to use the smooth side up for facing the acrylic to make it a little bit easier to work with. And then we have these 2 pieces here, which go on either side of the acrylic, or the aluminum channel, excuse me. So that's going to go right in the center there like that. Now, one side of these is going to get fastened down, and you just choose a side arbitrarily. I'm going to choose this side here is going to get fastened to this underside board here. The other side is going to be hinged so that when you heat up your acrylic on here, you've got something that can bend and support your workpiece there. So what we want to do, measure out. I said we had 3 inches on either side. Get things all nice and lined up there. Try and make sure that things are square, like that. And I said this is the piece here that's going to be fastened down. Now you could screw this down, you could clamp it and glue it. For the sake of saving time here, I'm going to go ahead and use a nail gun to just fasten this down real quick. Now when it comes to attaching our aluminum channel here, we're going to need to go drill a couple of holes on the backside of this channel where I can run a short screw in or something to hold it down to this piece before we can put the hinge section on. So let me go ahead and drill those holes. I'll be right back with you. Alright, now we're going to take some of our little short screws here that won't go through the plywood and line up our channel, fasten this down to the lower board. And I'm using the beveled edge screws that sit flush with the bottom of the channel there. They won't interfere with the wire. Now we want to butt the other piece up against the other side here. So we're going to take our hinges and lay them so that they're across the joint. You want the center of the hinge roughly in the middle. Alright, we're going to go ahead and do that to the other side as well here. And then you can see, now it hinges right up over the track there. Alrighty, so for stringing the heating element through here, this is where the flathead screws come into play. So what we're going to want to do is right near the end of the channel here, we're going to place one flathead screw. And then a little ways out, we're going to place another. Let's go ahead and put our first screw. You want this one pretty centered in the channel. This one here is going to actually be your alignment. So you want to get that one lined up. And the important part is you want the slot facing into the channel there. And then we can put the second one out a little ways here, pretty much just in a straight line. Now you want to screw these all the way through. Hopefully pick screws that are short enough they won't go all the way through the wood there. If you do get some poking through, you could always put some rubber feet or something on the underside of this to protect whatever surface you put this on. And the alignment of the slot on this back screw doesn't matter. Alright, so for the heating element, what you want to do is you want to bring your Nichrome wire down through the track underneath the hinge. And we're going to want to wrap it around this end screw here. Take a pair of needle nose pliers and secure that really well. And then for this part, this is why the screw needed to be lined up. Let me see if I can zoom in and show you that there. You want the heating element wire to go up over through that little groove in the flat blade screw right there. And that's going to guide it so that it doesn't hit the edges of the track at all on this end of the this end of the bender. Now we're going to go down and do the other side here real quick. This side gets set up very much the same. You want one screw that's the guide screw that's going to be right here in the center of the track that's going to hold the wire. So that's the one we're going to screw in with the slot facing into the track there. The other one we're going to put out here a little further toward the edge than the other one. And then same thing, we bring the end of the Nichrome wire underneath the hinge there, across the top of that screw there. But then instead of wrapping it around this screw like we did on the other one, we actually want to make a loop right up here near the guide screw, like so. And then we're going to trim off the excess. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a little spring here. And what we're going to want to do is put one end through the loop that we've made in our heating element, and then stretch the other end out around this back guide screw here. There you go, and make sure that that heating wire stays up there in the grooves. Finish off that loop. So now what will happen when we heat the wire, as the wire expands, this spring here is going to take up the slack, so you don't end up with the wire sagging down into the channel and potentially shorting out to the metal parts on here. I got one last thing I want to add to this before we go over and apply power to this so we can start bending some acrylic. That's going to be, I'm going to take a little piece of wood here, and I'm going to want to attach it as a straight edge, as a work guide, so that when you lay your acrylic on here, you can be sure you're getting a true 90-degree angle to your bend. So I'm going to take and use a square, and I'm going to line it up with the aluminum channel there, because that's what I want this to be straight with. And then again, you could attach this however you wanted. And there we go. So now when we lay a piece of acrylic on there, like I said, it's a true 90-degree angle to your heating element, so that when you make your bends, you know that you're straight on. Alrighty. So I'm going to be powering this. There's two. You can power this with AC or DC. With AC, it's got to be fairly low voltage. So to get that, I'm going to use the Temco Variable Auto Transformer, or Variac. We have these for sale on our website as well. The great thing about using a Variable Auto Transformer to provide power to this is that you can vary the heat. So if you need a little hotter for thicker material, you can turn it up. Or if you're doing really thin stuff, you can turn the heat down. It gives you a full wide range of adjustment there. So to connect to that, what I need to do is somehow get this wire, this heating element wire, attached to a normal 3-prong plug to go into the Variac here. So that is why I have some lead wire, the alligator clips from earlier, and just a sacrificial PC power cord here. So this one's going to actually become the power cord for our heat table here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my cutters here, and I'm going to go ahead and lop off the female end of this connector there. I'm going to strip back some of the insulation. And you'll see in this one we have white, black, and green. Green is ground. We're not going to be using that one, so I'm going to go ahead and shorten that off. And then you've got your white and your black, which is hot and neutral. We're going to strip some wire off the ends of these so that we can solder onto them. And then on our lead wires here, I'm going to go ahead and solder these two together. Alright, so now I've soldered those together and I've put some heat shrink around the connection to protect it there. So then on the other end of these lead wires, we're going to put on our alligator clips from earlier, and these are pretty easy to use. You just slip the wire in here and there's a little tab underneath, and then you just crimp them down like so. We're going to do the same to the other one here. Secure it there and crimp it down. It's a good solid connection. And then we're ready to go ahead and connect up here. So for one end of this, I'm going to plug the plug end. And then the two alligator clip ends are going to clip on to the Nichrome wire itself on either end here. Plug our variac in, turn it all the way down to 0 there, turn it on. And then as we bring up the voltage here, you can see the Nichrome wire starts to grow red hot, and we're ready to melt some plastic there. Now this is the other end. This is the end with the spring on it. And I want you to notice two things. First of all, I've connected power in not through the spring, but onto the Nichrome wire itself. This is important because we don't really want the spring to heat up, because as it heats up and cools down, it's actually going to change how springy it is. So we want it to maintain full tension. The other thing is, if you watch the spring, when I turn the power on here, you can see the spring contract a considerable amount as the wire heats up red hot. And this is because Nichrome wire, or resistance wire in general, expands as it heats. So the reason we have the spring on here, as I said earlier, is to take up the slack in our heater here, because otherwise all of that would be droop in the wire, and if it were to go ahead and touch the metal channel or the hinges or something like that, there's a chance of electric shock or something like that. Alright, so we're ready to bend some plastic. So first thing to do is go ahead and remove the protective sheeting from where we're going to bend. I'm just going to take it entirely off this piece here so you can see. Then we turn on our variac and turn the voltage up to around about 10 volts or so, 10 to 12 volts. This actually starts to get glowing warm. You want it to the point where it just turns orange like this. And like I said, the nice thing about using our variac is that you can totally adjust the heat here until it gets good. Too hot and you'll bubble the acrylic. Put our workpiece on there, and then you just wait a moment for the acrylic to heat up and get soft. And then when the acrylic gets good and soft here like this, you can see it's starting to bend, then we can go ahead and switch off the variac and bend this up, say to about 90 degrees there. And then you just hold it in place until the acrylic cools down enough to hold its shape, which just takes about 30 seconds or so. And there you can see we have a nice clean bend in our acrylic there. And this works all the way up through, this is, I believe, 3/16 acrylic. You can go thicker just by rotating your workpiece partway through so you heat both sides evenly. It is suggested with thicker acrylic, however, that you cut a V-notch down the inside of where the radius is going to be. Now, if you have any questions on Nichrome wire, resistance wire, or how to put one of these things together, or sourcing things like the variac or anything like that, you can give us a call or check us out. Our product listings for the resistance wire and the variac will be down below in the description. Also, please like and favorite the video. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch more of these do-it-yourself style videos here, and so if you want to get all the updates on that, you can subscribe to us here on YouTube or like us on Facebook, and you'll get all the updates there. Alrighty guys, until next time.